Happy New Year, everyone. The following bonus episode for January is presented on our regular feed as an abridged episode. For the full show, please visit patreon.com/cleanenergypod and support the show for as little as $1 a month. Otherwise, we'll see you for our regular show starting again next week.
Hello and welcome to the January bonus episode of the Clean Energy Show. I'm Brian Stockton.
I'm James Whittingham. This week, low-priced Chinese electric vehicles are poised to come to the United States, says a representative of one of the brands. ICE has already declared that it will shoot all Chinese cars on sight.
The air in Beijing is getting cleaner. This is great news, except for the athletes who had to compete in the more polluted air of the 2008 Beijing Olympics. No problem. We just need a do-over of the 2008 games. I'm sure that would be easy to do.
BYD has surpassed Tesla as the largest manufacturer of battery electric cars in the world, but they're also struggling with all the competition that's out there now. The future has arrived early and immediately got crowded.
China is laying claim to producing the world's first wind turbine blade that is 100% recyclable. You just return them to your local recycling center and get your deposit back. One caveat, recycling centers may need to be modified slightly to accommodate these blades that are a few hundred feet long.
All that, your letters, the lightning round, and more on this special edition of the Clean Energy Show. And also this week, the air you're breathing on airplanes is terrible and has nothing to do with other passengers. We'll explain later.
All right, well, let's get right into it, James. It is time to play Jeopardy!
Let's meet our next group of second chance contestants. And a filmmaker and educator, originally from Elma, Michigan, Pete Johnston.
One more time, ship happens. Dubbed the Tesla of the Seas, Norway's zero-emission Yara Birkeland is the world's first cargo ship of this type. Pete.
What's electric?
It is electric. Well done.
All right, so lots of things to talk about from this Jeopardy clip.
Well, for one, he's a filmmaker and educator, and there's only one person in the world I know who is a filmmaker and educator, and that is Brian Stockton.
And that's me. And if I was on Jeopardy, yeah, that would probably be filmmaker, educator, and podcaster maybe would be my
Sure.
Description, if you want to get serious about it. And he was the one who answered the question there correctly, the filmmaker and educator.
Let's shout out to all filmmaker educators in the world for being smart.
Yes. Although I think he lost. I can't remember. I think he lost. I think he didn't win. But anyway, yeah, the Yara Birkeland, which we maybe talked about before because we do occasionally talk about, electric cargo ships and ferries and so forth. But yeah, it's the Yara Birkeland in Norway. This is a fully electric cargo ship. It's on the small side. It only holds 120 of those shipping containers, those sort of standard size containers that we all know about. It's got a 6.7 megawatt hour battery, and the trip it takes is only about 13 kilometers, 7 miles. And it carries chemicals and fertilizer and is intended to reduce road truck traffic by about 40,000 loads per year, which they can accomplish with this smaller ship and this fairly small route that they have to do. And then as an added bonus, it was designed to also be fully autonomous. They haven't yet actually let it go autonomous. There has always been backup humans on there, but it's successfully executed supervised auto docking and auto crossing functionalities, paving the way for future autonomous voyages. But, here's an idea, James. Why don't they just pay a high school kid, $20 an hour, just so they could have some kind of human on there in case something goes horribly, horribly wrong?
Yeah, I'd do that job. Then I'd set up a podcast studio on the boat and just live on the seas. This is a good idea, using waterways to displace road traffic for all kinds of reasons, and one of them is pollution and global warming. And when you can do that with electricity, and certainly the first ones doing this are the easy ones, the short routes like ferries and so forth are electrifying. Why not?
Yes, absolutely. That's an amazing idea. And there's another story here this week from Electriv. The world's largest electric ferry is now being tested, and it's about to be deployed, and it's going to operate between Argentina and Uruguay starting next year. And it's quite large. This is the world's largest so far. We've talked about other electric ferries. This is going to be the world's largest. It can hold 2,100 passengers and 225 cars, and it's just kind of in the testing phase now and, be rolling out soon.
How was your holidays? It's been a while since we had a new podcast. How was your break?
It was good, and I took a genuine break. I really did not do much for a couple of weeks, and I think I needed it.
Yeah, I did too. I don't know why, but I really needed it, and I got a smartwatch for Christmas, a cheap one, a $50 Samsung Fit 3 for exercise. I was going to use it for exercise, and I'll be damned if I don't love the thing and want to use it all the time. So now I'm wearing it all the time, but it's kind of small and doesn't do quite everything, but it does enough that makes. I didn't think smartwatches for me, and I'm very surprised that, because I've seen you wear one for years, and I just thought, nah, why would I do that? But I'm wrong.
I've gotten addicted to the sleep tracking recently. Like I never used to do this, but the only problem is like you have to take it off to charge it when you wear it 24 hours a day. So I sometimes forget, but it's really addictive to track your sleep, because I'm always kind of curious, because, you always wake up a little bit during the night and you want to know, like, well, how much sleep did I actually get? Well, you wear the watch and it'll tell you.
Okay. Well, I've got other devices here that are keeping me alive that tell me how much I sleep. I just want to slip in a letter. We'll have some more letters next week with our regular show, but it says, hi guys, you are my favorite podcast. I will continue reading, but that's the important part.
That's a good start.
That's a good start. I was just got to say, corn isn't a vegetable. It's a grain. Thank you from Gene Rubin. And Gene is one of the earliest financial supporters of our podcast. We have not heard from him before, I don't believe. So it's nice to hear from Gene. He started supporting us on PayPal, which is an option instead of Patreon. And we appreciate that. But Gene, I have to say, are you right or not? Because Google, which is now, godlike.
It's infallible, of course.
Says no, corn is considered both a starchy vegetable in cooking and a grain, or technically a fruit, botanically, depending on how it's used. Fresh corn on the cob is treated as a vegetable, while dried corn used for flour, popcorn, or animal feed is a grain. So it's all these things. The U.S. Department of Agriculture classifies it as a vegetable, especially when harvested young and sweet. So, how dare you question the stable genius that is the U.S. government? How could they possibly be wrong about anything?
So it's like Schrodinger's corn. It's both things at the same time.
It's whatever you want it to be. And Gene wants it to be a grain. That's fine. And I don't even remember what episode we were talking about this. But I love letters like this because people are listening and everybody has an opinion. But I'm sorry, I'm going to treat it as a vegetable. At least with my dietitian, I'm going to treat it as a vegetable. And hopefully it counts for something. I know it's got fibrous. Well, it looks like it's yellow. Come on, it's juicy.
Yeah, there's always similar discussions around tomatoes. Is it a fruit? Is it a vegetable?
Yeah.
And the answer is actually different depending on the circumstances. It's the same.
Everything's weird. Everything's not what we think it is.
What is my catchphrase? There is no right answer.
T-shirts pending. I don't think they'll sell very well.
All right, so getting to our first story. This is from Electrek. The air is getting cleaner in Beijing, and this has always been a fascinating topic for me because I actually visited Beijing, and I haven't spent much time in Asia, but James and I made a film, and I got to screen it at the Beijing Film Festival back in 2016. And I remember being nervous about the air quality as we went there. And I probably mentioned that before, but we got super lucky. It was the summer and the winds were just right. And the air quality that, I was there for a week in Beijing. The air quality in 2016 was fantastic. Really enjoyed myself, had a great time there. In 2008, of course, this was a big news story because the Beijing Olympics were happening. And, athletes were very, very worried about the air quality. And there was a nice little sort of added detail in this story that I thought was interesting. A couple of things. First of all, the geography surrounding Beijing is similar to Los Angeles, the way that there's sort of mountains surrounding it, and that can really trap in the air and kind of stop it from moving. But the added detail I liked, long focal length photos exaggerated the density of the smog. So you and I are both, in film and photography, and that if you put a telephoto lens on a camera, a big sort of telescopic lens, it kind of compresses everything. It can make it look much, much worse than it is. If you shoot it with a wide angle lens, the air might have looked fine, but this was the kind of thing that was hitting the press before the 2008 Olympics. And, many athletes were very, very worried about this and considering not even competing. But they did a lot of emergency measures at the time for the Olympics, like shutting down factories and coal plants that were nearby and restricting the amount of driving that you can do in the times around the games. Mm-hmm. And so, they managed to improve it enough for the Olympics. But anyway, according to this article, the air pollution got worse after those Olympics for a few years because, Beijing was still industrializing, it was growing, it was urbanizing, but that has reached its peak in 2013. So the news this week is that Beijing claims the average PM 2.5 concentration in 2025 was only 27, whereas in 2013 it was over 100. So this means that 348 days out of the year had good or moderate air quality in 2025, which is 144 more days than in 2013 in Beijing. And they had only one heavy air pollution day in 2025, and they had 58 of those back in 2013. And of course, a big piece of this puzzle has been the adoption of electric cars in China, which we talk about all the time. They're on the leading edge of this. Over 50% of new car sales in China are now electric. It will, of course, take a while to replace the entire fleet, but many, many different government policies in China have, sped up the adoption of EVs, and it's cleaning the air.
Yeah. And as a man, an organization now who monitors his own air here with our Clean Energy Air Quality Project, moderate air, I'm not a fan of it because it happens a lot here.
Yeah.
And a lot more than I think people realize. Like last night, I had a notification come in that said the air quality in our city has deteriorated. And that is downtown. That's not my neighborhood where it deteriorates frequently. But yeah, it depends what it is. If it's just particulate matter from general pollution, maybe moderate's not so bad.
Yeah.
But I don't like it when it comes from industry directly down the road, because then I know I'm getting volatile organic compounds that are not healthy for me at all.
And we're in a city of 250,000. It's not a particularly big city. So you certainly expect this kind of pollution in, downtown New York, downtown Manhattan. But we always think that we should have fairly clean air here, and unfortunately we don't.
No, 40%, according to my records through September when we got our air quality monitor in late June, were bad. We're not good. They were moderate or poor. So at least part of the days were. And that's due to wildfires mostly. So that's a new reality for us that I don't care about very much. I don't like that. It's a bad thing, because wildfire smoke long term has not been studied. They're just starting to study that now because it is a reality for people.
Yeah.
And by the way, we're at the 1-year anniversary of the LA fires, which happened in early January last year, and they're still making very little progress on rebuilding. Only a few people are. A lot of people have been screwed by their insurance and so forth.
Yeah.
That's the way it is. But yeah, particulate matter, man, that is something I look at every day here. And I know it was bad in China because the people were revolting in China. And that's what I think motivated the government. They don't want to revolt. They want to maintain political stability. And when that happens, then they start getting nervous.
Oh, and they were very much affected by the bad press surrounding those Olympics. Like they really looked bad to every other country in the world. And that prompted them.
When you have an Olympics, you want to show off your country and how great it is. So that came back to bite them in the butt.
Tesla stock is sliding after losing its spot as the world's best-selling electric car maker to Chinese company BYD for the first time ever. BYD says it sold 2.3 million battery-powered cars globally in 2025. Tesla sold 1.6 million, slipping 9% from the year before.
So we've seen this creeping up. We talked about it before in the show over the last couple of years, but now officially BYD has surpassed Tesla as the biggest seller of battery electric vehicles. They also and only sell plug-in vehicles. So they will sell hybrid plug-ins or extended range EVs, which they're starting to call them now, EREVs. There's a new term for you, perhaps, but their sales are down too because competition is coming from fellow Chinese brands. There's like 100 and some makers of EVs or car makers, and there's like at least 50 brands or something like that.
Yeah.
And, I saw one, I think it was at a CES or was it in China? They came out of China a vacuum cleaner maker decided they would make a car. I mean, Dyson floated this idea. They actually spent a crap load of money on it and abandoned it. Apple also abandoned it.
Apple did the same thing, yep.
But the Apple of China did it. And, it took 4 years from let's do this to having a great car that is, they can't keep up with sales because it's so popular.
And Xiaomi has, an electric car brand. It's a phone maker. And MKBHD had a nice review of a Xiaomi electric car on his channel recently. It's not being sold in the US, but he had it somehow imported there. And the charging was weird. Like, it has the Chinese charging port on it. So he said he needed some kind of weird adapter to charge it. But I think they must have sent it to him just to get some press in North America. I'm not sure.
Yeah, and we're going to talk more about that later on the show, how China is, in fact, finally talking about coming to the United States, and we have an idea of how that will happen. So BYD sold 2.26 million EVs in 2025, up 28%, which is actually, that is good. That is the point where you say that's good. That's a good growth in EV adoption. That's a fast growth, but it's not been great overall compared to the competition. So Tesla's down 8.6% and its largest annual sales drop ever. BYD is now the world's largest EV seller despite not selling cars in the United States, which is a very big car market, if not the biggest or second biggest.
I think China's technically the biggest, but yeah.
Yeah, China is Tesla's second largest market. And, Tesla started this whole thing. Without Tesla, we would not be where we are because they boldly went forward with making electric cars and making them the right way. And then everyone else took notice. And, I know that we would have electrified at some point. I really do think that they, sped up the transition.
Yeah.
And that's very important because time is everything on this. But now, you look at Tesla and their, 4 or 5 models of cars, and those cars are years old now. And the Chinese makers, they have all kinds of models. Like, I'm not the vacuum cleaner company and not the phone maker. They've only come out with one, but they're planning more. But all these other brands like BYD, they've got countless brands and variations within the models, like all kinds of variations within the models. And, and they're refreshing very quickly, faster than the auto market in general refreshes their cars. So you're always saying, okay, well, I'm going to buy the next version, or maybe I don't like the version now, but this one is a lot better and I want to buy that one. So it's hard to see, for me, it's hard to see Tesla selling cars. Now, I know a lot of people who are in the Tesla camp think that the technology that is going to surpass everyone else, that the visual technology, and then everybody's going to want their car and yada, yada, yada. But I'm not so sure because it seems, at least in other parts of the world like China, like, the competition is just fierce. Why would you necessarily go? I mean, Tesla is still doing fairly well in China, considering that they do have only a handful of vehicles for sale there. So actually it's quite positive. People are liking the brand there. Now Elon Musk, the CEO of Tesla, his politics have turned off some people, obviously, a lot of people. But BYD won because of strong scale, aggressive pricing. Like, the price war in China is ruthless. They're barely making a dime off these cars because they're just fighting each other like crazy. And that's kind of how the Chinese quote unquote free market works. You beat the hell out of everybody else, and then you become stronger. And then the people who fail, you eat their flesh. You take their supply chains, and they've done some of the work for you when you take over their supply chains. So they also have massive EV market there, faster product cycles, as I mentioned, but their growth is slowing. BYD's growth is slowing. Total vehicle sales, EVs and hybrids, rose to 4.6 million. But that's the weakest growth rate of expansion in 5 years. They've been expanding faster than that previous to now. And China's EV market remains brutally competitive. There's 150 car brands, 50 plus EV makers. Rivals to BYD, you may have heard of these, Geely. We'll talk about that later in the show. They may be the first to enter the US market. Leap Motor and Xiaomi, which you mentioned, are gaining ground. BYD's domestic market share fell from 35% in China in 2023 to just 29% in 2025. So they're losing market share, even though this is a massive company who's building their own ships, like 6 of them, just to transport the cars to other countries. Like, it's incredible. Their supply chain from the mines to the ship, all the way there, and they're still losing ground and probably not making a lot of money doing it. Geely sales surged nearly 90% last year. So that's pretty crazy. 90%. They're on the way up and doing very well. Price wars in China are squeezing margins. Overseas expansion is accelerating, but has triggered tariffs. So when you start expanding and it goes really well, countries like Mexico panic and they say, well, maybe we should be putting tariffs on here. And that's happening. And also regulatory scrutiny due to low pricing. So, they start to think that China's government has been accused of subsidizing these brands by giving tax breaks and a lot of things. But North American automakers have been subsidized a little bit as well. And certainly the oil and gas that they use is massively subsidized. So CEO Wang Chanfu admitted BYD's technology lead has narrowed and product differentiation with other brands has weakened. So he's going to promise some new tech to make them differentiated. There's a contrast in the whole investing world, though, because Tesla shares rose 18.6% in 2025, with investors, mostly retail, focused on the future bets like robotaxis and humanoid robots. So people who are investing in Tesla assume that Tesla's robots will be better than the Chinese robots. They'll be cheaper than the Chinese robots and better and faster to market. And the robotaxi is basically the same thing. But the bottom line, BYD has beaten Tesla on volume, but faces intensifying competition. So we'll see what happens. The competition is good. When we started this show almost 6 years ago now, coming up on our 6th anniversary, we could only dream about such competition that is taking place right now.
It's crazy what has changed in 6 years, particularly with electric vehicles, which, were almost non-existent when we started this show.
Yeah, coming up later, we have a fat lightning round for you. Just due to our time off, the lightning rounds got very fat because there has been lots of news, so stay tuned for that.
All right, and that's all for our abridged bonus episode. To continue listening to this once per month bonus show, please visit patreon.com/cleanenergypod and sign up to support the podcast. And we'll be back next week with our regular weekly show. So we'll see you then. Thanks for listening.